As a responsible father who cares about the well-being of your family and resources, if distressed people arrived at your gate without invitation, without you knowing who they were or why they were at your gate, would you call it mysterious? Open the gate, let them in, and then launch an investigation into the mystery? Or would you start with the investigation to ensure that you do not bring into your home people whose identity and mission may put your family in danger? As I've said over and over again, a nation is like a family, and our wonderful nation has recently found itself in a very similar situation. On the 13th of November, a chartered plane carrying 153 Palestinians, primarily from Gaza, landed at OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg. When interviewed about it, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa himself called this trip mysterious and has launched an investigation. When the whole president of a country uses that kind of language, you know that something is seriously off. But mysterious as it was, he let the 153 Palestinians into the country before investigating who they were or why they were in South Africa.
These are people from Gaza who somehow mysteriously were put on a plane that passed by Nairobi and came here. And I got to hear about it from my Minister of Home Affairs, wanting to know, what do we do now? And I said, we cannot turn them back.
Imagine that. I don't know if this is based on him trying to appear compassionate to the rest of the world, or maybe if he knows something that you and I don't know. But one thing I do know is that what our president did here seems very irresponsible. As we know, the president has a team of leaders working with him, and in this particular case, the most relevant leader was the Minister of Home Affairs, Leon Schreiber. So what did he have to say about this mystery?
The Department of Home Affairs has further taken note of a statement issued on social media this morning by the Palestinian Embassy, raising some disturbing claims as it relates to the origin of this flight. The department will continue to work with the Palestinian Embassy and the rest of the South African security cluster to probe these claims. However, even as we do so, we remain steadfast in our commitment to safeguarding the dignity of vulnerable people at all times.
While I appreciate that the Home Affairs Ministry is steadfast in its commitment to safeguard the dignity of vulnerable people at all times, I can't help but wonder, is this a dignity of vulnerable South Africans or vulnerable foreigners? It seems to me that they have prioritized these vulnerable Palestinians without considering if that would be making South Africans vulnerable to unknown danger. Leon Schreiber, the Minister of Home Affairs himself, says that they are not seeking asylum.
It was established that the absence of stamps, return tickets, and accommodation addresses did not indicate that the travelers wished to apply for asylum. As a result, once it was confirmed that they would be provided with accommodation and care during their visit, I presented the new fact set to the BMA Commissioner for consideration, including on humanitarian grounds. Once satisfied that the absence of certain elements from their itinerary would not leave them destitute in South Africa in the absence of any asylum claims, the travelers were granted entry into South Africa on the standard 90-day visa exemption. All of the travelers are in possession of valid passports, and at present, none of them have applied for asylum.
So what are they seeking exactly? Now, seeking asylum is when a person asks another country for protection from persecution or serious harm in their home country. Now, these 153 Palestinians are not seeking asylum, so what do they want here? What do they want? The Palestinian Embassy in South Africa released a statement that said that the flight had been arranged by an unregistered and misleading organization that exploited the tragic humanitarian conditions of their people in Gaza. They deceived families, collected money from them, and facilitated their travel in an irregular and irresponsible manner. We have been given this information by the Palestinian Embassy itself. So tell me, how do we know what the intentions of this unregistered and misleading organization are? How do we know if among the 153 passengers there are no terrorists or individuals who mean South Africa and South Africans harm? Why are we so comfortable taking in 153 Palestinians when the Palestinian Embassy said that this travel was arranged by an unregistered and misleading organization that they believe is exploiting the humanitarian situation? Or does the South African Home Affairs Ministry not care about any of that? All it cares about is being steadfast in its commitment to safeguard the dignity of vulnerable people at all times. Is that the case? You know, it's really scary how those appointed to protect South Africans seem to take every opportunity to prioritize non-South Africans, from Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber to the President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa. And it is really disgusting and disappointing. As if what we are getting from our leadership isn't bad enough, we also have many people in South Africa and the Middle East and the rest of the globe who are trying to condemn our government for keeping the plane on the tarmac for 12 agonizing hours.
جايين من غزة هربين من الموت على جنوب أفريقيا. الحكومة في جنوب أفريقيا مش راضية تستقبلنا. احنا هنا عالقين في المطار نرجو المساعدة.
Fleeing the war and devastation in Gaza, a group of more than 150 Palestinians has reached what they hoped would be safety. But on their arrival in Johannesburg, they were denied entry. South Africa's Border Management Authority said none of the passengers had the required departure stamps in their passports. For hours, the group remained on the tarmac at OR Tambo International Airport, without food, water or adequate air circulation, until the decision was overturned.
Their argument is, how dare we keep the people that we don't know, people whose intention is unknown to us, people whose final destination in our land is unknown, waiting while trying to figure out what's what. Just imagine the audacity. Dear South African citizens and leaders, please recognize that guilt is one of the modern-day weapons used to destroy nations. Do not allow yourself to be guilted into folding your arms and being silent when your nation is potentially being taken over. Recognize that your home is in danger and do something about it before our beautiful nation follows the direction that England, France, and Ireland have taken.
This is Sweden, the country that will pay immigrants $34,000 to go back home.
We have as many bombings per capita as in Mexico.
2 people are dead in a knife attack at an IKEA store in Sweden.
Mohammed, du kommer inte upp här. Därför han högg mig med en kniv. Såg ni det?
Sweden began to experience a surge in gang violence, drug trafficking, shootings, grenade explosions, gang rapes, and other violent crimes when 163,000 migrants fled to Sweden during the refugee crisis in 2015 from countries like Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq, leading the Swedish public to wonder if integration was possible and if the benefits of importing third world migrants were worth the diversity and cheap labor they brought.
These are but some of the results of remaining silent when you ought to say no, stop it. This is nonsense. They guilt you by saying, aren't you loving? Don't you care about the poor refugees? Be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. So don't just be innocent. Be both innocent and wise. So you can call me xenophobic, call me Islamophobic, call me insensitive. Those labels will not guilt me into accepting what you and I both know I should not accept. Facts first, cry later. I want to know this. If the people in the country is trying to guilt trip us are more loving, kind, compassionate than South Africans and the South African government, why didn't they ask South Africa to send the 153 their way? Why didn't they? Why doesn't Iran or Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, or any of the other countries that are close to Gaza take those Palestinians in? Why should a country on the other side of the world be given the responsibility to take in Palestinians? Why? Whether they were seeking freedom, economic opportunities, or asylum, which we now know they weren't, why did they ignore all the nations in the Middle East and come all the way down to South Africa? This plane with Palestinians could have landed in Egypt. But no, it flew all the way from the Middle East, past the nations in Northern Africa, East Africa, all the way down to South Africa. Why? We are not physically close to them, so why? We are not an Arab nation like them, so why? We are not in a position to accommodate additional immigrants, so tell me why exactly? We can't afford more mouths to feed. We are a poor country with too many foreigners already. Why would Cyril Ramaphosa agree to this? Why should you and I agree to this? If anyone knows, please let us know in the comment section below or send us an email. I don't know if you are aware of this, but the flight on the 13th of November landing with the 153 Palestinians was not the first. Another flight with 176 Palestinians arrived on October 28th.
All of the people who were on the plane and the previous plane signed up on a website and paid anything between $1,500 to $5,000 per person to get out.
Wissam Bashir arrived in South Africa 2 weeks ago on a similar chartered flight he says was arranged through Al-Majd Europe after he registered online. He paid $6,000 for himself, his wife and their 2 children.
Why didn't that first plane go to a country closer to Palestine? Why should a country on the other side of the world be given the responsibility to take in Palestinians? Why didn't Iran or Egypt take the Palestinians in? Where those 176 Palestinians are today is unknown. As per an official from DIRCO, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, they have disappeared into the country. Okay, do we at least know who these people who have disappeared into our country are? When asked about the identity of the passengers, the Afro-Middle East Center's Naeem Jinnah had little information. He told Daily Maverick that seemingly not all of them know each other, but most appeared to be professionals and business people. Yeah, no? Let's hope that they are indeed professionals and business people and not terrorists or people being planted in our nation for evil intentions. I wonder if those were the only flights or if we should be expecting more. Video after video, I realize how as South Africans we need to cry out to God Almighty for our nation, for better leaders and citizens. Exposing, discussing, and complaining about the happenings in South Africa isn't enough. We clearly need a supernatural intervention here, so let's all say a prayer for our beautiful nation, knowing that miracles do happen. Anyway, that's it for today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and share our videos with more citizens. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlaro. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.